Yo, how is it going everyone? Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today we shall be continuing the Bullet Echo lore series, and in today's video we shall be focusing on Satoshi. Satoshi actually went through a lot growing up, and he did not have a normal childhood. And without wasting any time, let's get straight into the video. Satoshi comes from Japan. He was a son of the most famous Japanese industrialist who was very close to being a millionaire. Satoshi's father sponsored and curated Bullet Echo. But on a sad note, Satoshi's mother happened to die during childbirth, and then Satoshi became the only reminder of her for his father. So starting out already, this is pretty tragic for Satoshi. Loses his mother when he's pretty still young, and that would be rough for anyone to go through. From childhood, Satoshi was a precocious boy. He studied shooting and went in for sports with his personal trainer hired by his dad. But he did not study at school, attending some lessons instead. Young Satoshi also had no friends. How could he make them, being under the constant supervision of his parent and bodyguards? So his parent and bodyguards were basically always supervising him, and they did not give him any freedom to make friends. Satoshi's father took care of everything for his growing son, except for his communication while he was out and about. He himself did not pay much attention to his son, wanting nothing more than that he grows up a well-mannered person and does not bring shame to his father in the society. So basically, Satoshi and his father did not have the best of relationships. All his father wanted was for him to grow up to be a good person and not bring shame to his father. It was in his own family that Satoshi first felt lonely. He did not know what he felt for his father, but it was clearly not a son's love for his parent, more like respect, a subordinate's respect for the boss, nothing more. Sometimes Satoshi even thought about what would have happened if his mother remained alive. Would she have been kinder to him? Would she have treated him better than he did? So on his 16th birthday, Satoshi receives a katana as a gift. And this katana is supposedly a special katana that runs throughout their family. He kept it as a great treasure and even began to master it bit by bit, which pleased his father, who saw a worthy successor of his status in his son. But then, something very bad happens. Satoshi's life is almost cut short by an accident. And basically, this accident was planned by one of the spiteful critics of the family. An explosive device was planted in the Satoshi's country house where they were supposed to go. The explosion came all of a sudden and it was very intense. It damaged the supporting structures and the building began to collapse rapidly. The worst thing was that Satoshi happened to be close to the bomb. He was severely injured and his legs were torn off, and one of his bodyguards was killed by a piece of the falling rubble. Another bodyguard, having escaped with a broken arm, managed to call the rescue services and to report the incident to Satoshi's father. Satoshi's father instantly rushed to the scene and was confronted with a very terrible sight. So basically, their house blows up and Satoshi is close to it. He gets severely injured. A few of the staff are lost. Some bodyguards are severely injured, and then his dad rushes to the scene. Satoshi was rushed to the hospital. He spent a long time in intensive care and even longer in recovery treatment. But he could no longer live the same life. He ended up in a wheelchair, and the prospects of returning to a healthy, active life were very, very low. So here Satoshi basically sustained very severe injuries where he lost both of his legs and severely damaged one of his arms. He was in pretty bad shape at this point in time. On returning home, Skytech Megacorp's future fighter felt with all his being how deeply his father mourned him. It was like he had died as far as his father was concerned, although he continued to communicate with his son and even inquired about his mental state. Satoshi had already begun to realize that most likely he would be permanently chained to a wheelchair, but he did not stop training and learning. Even being in a wheelchair, he continued to practice shooting, but he had to forget about active sports. Satoshi wanted his father to be proud of him all the same and did not want to fail him any further. And then an offer of help came unexpectedly, and most importantly, from those that no one expected it from, the leaders of the Sky Megacorp faction. They offered Satoshi's father to treat his son and to implant new experimental prostheses which were supposed to completely replace the lost limbs. But in return, as payment, they wanted the boy to join the arenas to be able to monitor the condition of his prostheses and, so to speak, for the purity of the experiment. The proposal sounded great on the one hand, but absolutely unacceptable and terrible on the other. The father wanted his son to walk again, but the price was too high, and the prospect of allowing them to make an experimental rat out of his only child seemed unacceptable to him. But in the end, Satoshi's father made up his mind. So basically, Satoshi is stuck in his wheelchair, trying his best to not give up on life, and then an offer of help comes unexpectedly from the leaders of the Sky Megacorp faction. And they basically want to fix him using their experimental technology. Remember, in the previous episode of this series, we saw that the Sky Megacorp faction was the faction that controlled the majority of the high-end technology and gadgets. So they basically wanted to help him, but in return, he had to join the arenas and he had to let them experiment on him. When Satoshi was taken to the laboratory of one of the most powerful and technologically advanced factions in the world, he did not know what fate awaited him. The prostheses took to his body well, and soon he was able to not only walk and run, but also to continue his sports training. Very soon, the joy of returning to a former lifestyle was replaced by the horror of learning the truth. His father did not tell him anything at all about the price he agreed to and that Satoshi had to pay. The only person Satoshi trusted had betrayed him. Despite all, Satoshi very soon became one of the best fighters of the faction. He did not form any close ties with his allies though, and this cemented his image as a cold-hearted killer. So basically, the Sky Megacorp faction leaders ended up successfully installing their experimental technology to fix Satoshi and enable him to walk again. But as a price for that, he had to join the arenas to fight, and also they had an obligation to experiment on him. But nevertheless, he became one of the best fighters of the faction, and yeah, that's basically Satoshi's story. Very, very interesting and very intriguing. Let me know if you enjoyed Satoshi's story and which hero's story would you like to see next. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace. Somewhere